1977. All right, so I was sitting where you guys were many, many years ago when this was an all-boys school. Okay, this school has morphed itself into probably the best, the finest institution, not only in the state of New Hampshire, but in the region. And I think you guys, hopefully, girls, guys, I hope you appreciate what's been going on in the school, not only for the past few years, but in the future. Most of you guys are what, juniors and seniors? Okay, you're gonna be alums in a couple of years or a couple of days, all right? When you become an alumnus of a institution, right, you're part of that institution. You're the fabric of that institution. And what we have today is we have another alum from '87 that has given not only his time, his money, his resources, his education to the school. That's his name. He has a leadership company. He has started.
Please come to the main office.
He started his career basically in this school. He was captain of 3 sports, played football, baseball, and basketball, went to RPI, played football at RPI, and got into the business world. Created an unbelievable business for himself, and right now, not to embarrass you, but it's an empire, all right? He is the lead gift for our new athletic complex that's gonna be about 5 miles away. So without any more introduction, I want to introduce Mr. Brennan Keegan.
So it's interesting coming back. You know, I graduated in '87, and I hadn't come back to BG until it was about 13 years ago when we moved back. I was running a technology company down in Boston, and our head of HR said, "Hey, my son plays football at BG. Freshman, do you want to come to a game?" So I came to a game, and a few minutes later, this guy with the Goldilocks hair comes up to me and says, "I know you," and he brought me back to BG. So I had lost touch for a while. I moved a lot. I lived in New York, DC, Dallas, Silicon Valley, so I moved a lot, and I hadn't really connected. You know, I wasn't, my first couple of years, probably that alumni was coming back to the events, and when I came back to the school, and I saw, when I graduated, I thought it was a great school, but it's become a phenomenal school. First of all, anytime you add girls' school, boys' school, it goes up a notch, right? Boys, are you with me? Yeah, you with me on that one? As great as the school had become, and with Jason and Linda making the curriculum so incredible, there was one thing that hadn't improved in Atlas. I would say maybe it actually got worse. Anyone guess what that was? The practice fields. And why did they get worse? Because you had twice as many people trying to play on exactly the same surfaces out there. And at one point in time, I remember coming down to Tony saying, "Is there anything we could do?" And at that time, I don't know, we didn't have the muscle, we didn't have the wherewithal. I think it was that we didn't have Linda. It just said, "We're going to do it. We're going to do it." So in October, my wife Dana, who's with me today, we came down. It was end of October, and we were in Linda's office, and she told me about the athletic complex that you guys were building, and we were excited to be a part of it. I also have with me my daughter Kaylee. She's a sophomore at the University of St. Andrews over in Scotland now, playing lacrosse over there. So for our family, sports has always been important. And as amazing as BG sports are, you guys just deserve a better complement. You deserve a better practice facility, and especially with as many teams, boys and girls, that you have. So thanks for letting me come back and do this. And I say that because you always want to be welcome back to where you started. I can't tell you how many times I learned a lot of hard lessons in this room. Anyone play football here? You have Monday film in here? Yeah. And I'm sure it's very similar. Coach has a way to go through and tell you everything you didn't do. Sometimes a little bit better than what you did do. So some tough lessons in this room, but I can tell you that's what makes you who you are. And being an athlete means so much. You know, I run a business now, and I can tell you, I can see sometimes when someone played team sports and played sports, they're more coachable. They understand what it means to kind of go through the regs. So thanks for doing what you're doing, and I'm more than happy to answer a few questions on any topics that you might have. Yes?
How would you personally describe your high school experience?
Well, first, give me your name and what sports you play.
Jake Pedro, I play baseball.
Okay. How would I had a great high school experience. You know, it just, I enjoyed it here. I was in student government, so I did class president each year. I love sports. I can truly say that I was a late bloomer when it came to girls. It wasn't until senior year when I kind of found girls. A girl came over to my house. She said, "I'm captain of the cheerleading team. If you're captain of the football team, we should date." So then I had my first girlfriend. So I started late, but I loved it here at BG. I think the name you have now, known, valued, and treasured, I think is what it was when I was here. We just didn't have it on the wall. You could walk anywhere in the school, everybody knew you. And it was really cool to want to do well. Like, you know, you wanted to do well. You pushed each other to get 90s, to get 4.0s. You know, we weren't on the 4.0 system. We all wanted each other. We were biggest fans. I think every year the Manchester Union League used to rank fans in the state. And every year BG used to come out #1. So there was this incredible sense of community. And it didn't matter if you were, you know, a football player, lacrosse. We didn't have lacrosse. I was actually the last. You know what the last baseball championship team is? 87. And I think it's because lacrosse has taken off. It's like putting a crunch on numbers. But you know, I had a great experience, and when I come into the school now, I see you guys. I think even having a better experience than I had. There's just so much more to do today than when I was here. But I loved it.
You said the sports you played, the clubs you were in, you know, student government helped shape your character and your leadership skills?
Absolutely, 1,000%. You know, just, you know, being on a team sport, you know, you go from being, you know, the best, say in 8th grade, you all of a sudden you show up at BG and you're no longer the best. You know, you make the varsity team, but then you only play a little bit. Like, that's how you are in your career. You'll be the best manager, and then they'll promote you to director, and now guess what you are? You're the weakest director because you're the newest director. So I think you learn a lot of lessons. You also, every once in a while, get put on the bench. You know, well, that happens in the real world. You get setbacks, and I think you realize, you learn, like, you know, the ability to come back and the resiliency. You know, my wife, Annie, can probably tell you one of the things I probably learned to carry most is resiliency. You know, one of the sayings I have is have the courage to fail and the faith to succeed. Because if you're going to try to do something really great, you're going to have lots of failures along the way. Because if you're trying to do just something average, you might not have many failures. If you're going to try to do something great, you're going to have to fail a bunch of times. And I think what defines the people who get to the top of the mountain and those that don't are people that have the resiliency to, when they fail, to pick themselves back up and follow through. But then also have the faith in themselves and have people around them that have faith in them, and then have faith in their life, you know, as in a higher power and God. But yeah, it's you know, just the fact that you are already here, every single one of you, you're already further down the track than probably 80% of high school kids, 90% of high school kids. You know, your work ethic, your habits that you pull out. I can tell you my BG habits on how to take notes, how to study. I showed up in college. My roommate was valedictorian at a great New York school, didn't have the same skills I had at taking notes and studying. I was a better studier than they were. They were a better sleeper though. That helped their grades either. He was a fantastic sleeper. But there's so many things you learn here that you'll carry the rest of your life and will help make you who you are later in life. Yes?
What was the biggest lesson that you learned in high school that like transferred to the real world?
I think the biggest lesson I learned in high school that transferred to the real world is something that I don't think a lot of high schools can say this. I think you can say this at BG, is to be kind. You know, it's interesting how I come across people I went to high school with, and you know, you remember little bits and pieces, you know, people that maybe weren't your best friends, but it's interesting to look back and just being nice to everybody. And I think it sounds really simple to say be nice, but it's not always how people are. There's a lot of people in the world that aren't nice. There's a lot of people in the world that don't care about you, won't care about you. But I think one thing that BG taught me that I walked away with is I had 135 kids in my graduating class. Everybody was nice to everybody. Now, we weren't best of friends. You can't be friends with 135 people. But we all knew each other. We all liked each other. We were all fans of each other. We all cheered for each other. And we've kind of kept in touch over the years. But that kindness, that just be nice, is I think one of the greatest gifts BG gave me. because that's how I try to live my life now. I walk around my office every day, say hi to everybody, and just try to genuinely be nice. And I think that's something here at BG they really instill in you. And I'm willing to bet it's a reason why some of your parents chose to send you here, maybe over your local public school. They just felt like you go to BG, it's cool to do well in school. Generally, you're going to have a good high school experience, and people are going to be nice. Yes.
Do you remember any specific classes that you took in here or in college that kind of helped you with your like potential in the future?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed math. I always took like double math for electives and stuff, so that's what I really liked. I think as you think about college, I think some skills that really work well is applied math. Like when I was going to college, applied math really wasn't a subject. You know, we took economics, macroeconomics, but I look at the skills I use. The two core skills I use are writing and math. That's not to say that my French didn't, make me a more enriched, broadened person, but writing and math, it consumes my day. Every day I'm writing emails to the company and just being a good writer. And I can tell you, if you're graduating from here, you graduate a good writer. Right now I write for 5 publications every month, and I hear all the time, wow, we don't have to edit your stuff, it's really well written. Well, and by the way, when I was here at BG, that was the second worst subject. I wasn't good in English. But when I got out and compared to other folks, pretty good writer. So writing and math, anything you can do to just be good at math. And it doesn't have to be calculus math. As a matter of fact, my calculator just has plus, minus, divide, and subtract. That's all I need at this point in my life. But just being good with numbers, it really helps. Yeah, one, and what's interesting, his son-in-law just took a job at our company, so I was not telling him. One person that did was my assistant football coach. He was a baseball coach and math, Mr. Loza. I think he just retired. Yeah, many of you know Mr. Lozo? Yeah, he was. He had a way of getting the best out of you. So I'll give you, for instance, somehow he met my son. My son's wearing his football uniform. He's like 7 years old. He says, Patrick, what position do you play? He says, I play quarterback. He goes, wow, you must be faster than your dad was. And I'm like, Mr. Lozo, you haven't changed. But he had this way of like instigating the best out of him. He really did. He did it in a playful way. Mr. Lozo, Brother Guy, I took a lot of math from Brother Guy when I was here, and I really enjoyed that. Those were two. Our head coach, Coach Kowalski, your performance center that's been named after him. He was very influential, and those were probably the majority. And what I just found is you spend time with your teachers and then you spend time with your coaches, and you really get impacted by both of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that you had already mentioned the lesson in 8 times second year, but was there more of a specific example that kind of carried with you?
Yeah, I don't want to make this sound horrible, but like once you're out of college in the real world, it's you. And then you've got your friends, but you're going to move to DC. You're going to go, I don't know anybody there. And then you're going to move to Dallas. I don't know anybody there. So you're going to have these things. And I've just found that if you're just a good person, good things happen. And now here's what I'll tell you though. This is a lesson I didn't learn until I was probably 33, 35. When I used to think that if I was nice to you, you had to be nice to me. And I just thought it was transactional. And I got let down. I got really disappointed. I'd go out for a weekend with one of my friends, and I'd pick up the I was going to say bar tab, but I'd pick up dinner, and they didn't. And I'd be like, this isn't fair. I'm being nice to them. They should be nice to me. It wasn't probably till my mid-30s I realized, don't look at it as a transactional thing. Just be nice to everybody. Just be nice to everybody. Be kind to everybody. Pick up the tab, open the door, clean up, do whatever, and goodness will find you. So remember when I talked about failures? you know, in some of my biggest failures, all of a sudden, like, you know, the skies would open up, the sun would come out, and somebody would come rescue you. It wasn't the person that didn't pick up that you got the bar tab for. It was somebody else. So I just kind of have this belief that if you put a lot of good into the world, good will come and find you. And you know, this last year when we were going through a process, you know, selling the company on that, there were lots of days that, you know, we all could have been negative and stuff. And I kept saying, hey, just be positive, be good to everybody in the process. And in the end, it wound up great. But earlier, I thought if I'm nice to you, you have to be nice to me. When you're not nice to me, I'm not going to be nice to you anymore. I know it sounds immature, but you know, that's just, I had to learn the lesson of be nice to everybody, and that was what was taught here, and I had to go back to it. And good things, good people will come into your life. And every once in a while, someone will say, you know, geez, Brendan, you're so lucky. It's like, well, am I lucky? Or is that, you know, all the goodness that I tried to put into the world, is that goodness coming back and rewarding me for being a good person? And that's kind of behind this donation is, you know, we did donations at, anyone go to St. Chris Academy here? Yeah. I went to school there. My daughter went to school there. My wife volunteered. My mom was a teacher there. I'm just looking back and saying, who formed me as a person? Well, St. Chris did. You know, I went to, you know, elementary school there. Bishop Burton did. And we were recently out at RPI with the football program. We did some things there. So it's kind of that same premise of, you know, do good for others, and then, you know, something good's going to happen to me next week, next month. I'm not going to be able to trace it back to, the BG donation or spending time with juniors and seniors, but it's going to come back. And just learn the lesson earlier than I did that it's not transactional. Just be nice to everybody, and I think that's what they taught me here, and maybe I lost my way on that for a few years. And don't pick up bar tabs till you're over 21. and then pick them up. Yes?
Were there any experiences in high school that helped shape like your work ethic?
Yeah. One thing that helped shape my work ethic was an injury. You know, I had knee surgery, and you can come back in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I had it after the day of Thanksgiving. Back then we played Nashua High on a big Thanksgiving day, and I had to pass up playing basketball my senior year, which was really tough. But we knew we had a potential to be a state championship baseball team, so I just worked so hard that winter, not to let my teammates down, and that work paid off. But I mean, it's no fun when you're sitting in an ice bucket playing at 7 at night, and you're like, why am I doing this, or why did I have this injury? So I think that having an injury actually just, well, one, I realized how much I enjoyed the sport. Also, I realized how much I enjoyed my teammates, because when you're doing rehab, there's no one around. It's you. Anyone have an injury, and it's kind of, it got lonely for a while, you're not with the team. So I look at that as that was a big lesson I learned, is you have to work in silence. You have to work on your own. And you know, when you have to do all those things, no one's around, you have no coach really helping you with it. It's up to you. But if you do it, then you come back to the team and play again. Yes. Well, so when I went to school here, you know Elliott Field, right, out here? Well, the Elliots were in the beef business. They owned a beef house, like big sides of beef. And when you made football captain, you got a job, you got to work there in the summer. And that was actually a big deal because they paid a lot of money. And I remember I showed up my first day, and the guy, his name was Mike Carbonell, he goes, I want to let you know we only work half days in the summer. I'm like, great, I'm up for it. He goes, you start at 4 and you end at 4. And I'm like, well, 4 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon? He goes, yeah, you work half a day, and we give you half a day. So I did that for 4 summers. I never had an internship, and I remember doing my interviews after graduating, when graduation was coming up in college. I remember telling them, hey, I don't have a fancy internship. You know, I didn't work anywhere in New York like all these other folks. But here's what I can promise you. I work from 4 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, carry the sides of beef, and I've got a great work ethic, and you can bet on that. So I never had the chance to do internships. It just wasn't in the cards for me. I encourage you to do them. They're great. But for me, what I took out of mine was work ethic. But I think the thing I also took away is whatever you do, you can learn something from it. You know, so I didn't learn what it was like to work at Goldman Sachs, but I did learn how there's no replacement for hard work.
Did you have a clear vision of the future of high school, or did it evolve?
Questions, I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do in high school. I knew I wanted to be a leader, that I knew. Like, I really, really, really enjoy serving other people. And I think BG played a part in that, because, you know, here we do practice servant leadership, where it's serve the students. And I hear, Jason, every time you talk, that's one of your big mantras, and Linda. So I knew I wanted to lead, and I knew someday I wanted to be a CEO. I didn't know what. But I think we all have gifts that we've been given, and if you believe you've been given a gift by God, you actually have a responsibility to develop it, not just let it, you know, wither away. And I think the gift that God gave me was the ability to just lead and have people follow, and it kind of inspire them to do something bigger than they might have ordinarily been able to do. So I've tried throughout my life to honor that by challenging myself to lead. And leading just isn't running a company. Leading is, you know, being a good dad, being a good husband, being a good community partner, you know, going back and coaching youth sports. I remember when I first moved to DC, I was 22 and I was coaching Little League. People were like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that after work? I'm like, I want to give back. But that was ingrained in me, even when I was here at BG, was give back. And I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that really should be part of who you are. Yes? Do I remember any moments that boosted my confidence? I love the pep rallies. Are those still fun? We used to have the best pep rallies with, you know, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. Those were really memorable. At the time we were winning a lot of state championships in basketball. So driving up to UNH in caravans to the state championship basketball games were really memorable. Some of the other memories, you guys don't even know what this is. We used to have typewriters. Okay, I know you don't know what that is, and they taught us to type. And I forget the nun's name, and she used to play Sister Anne. She used to play records, another thing that you don't know, with chirping birds, and we learned to type with chirping birds. And just imagine, like 25 guys in a room. We're giggling like we're in second grade. I know that sounds really stupid, but it's what you remember. I also remember just the locker room. Just, you know, hanging out in the locker room and just getting to know people. And I think that's what I enjoy most is I can't tell you I know all 135 people and what they're doing, but I can tell you if any one of those 135 called me, texted me, or emailed me and asked me for time or anything, I'd give it to every single one of them in a heartbeat. And that's a gift that BG's given you. So, you know, look around the room. There'll be a point in time when you reach out to each other and just ask for help. Just ask for lunch. And that turns into you starting a company 5 years later. It turns into you coaching together. You know, I've actually, you know, coached with, you know, kids I graduated with. I've coached kids, or kids I've graduated with. And it's just really neat, that BG community.
One more question.
Yes?
Were there any connections you made during high school that benefited you in your professional career?
Yeah, you know, I'd say all the connections, you know, just, you know, having a good network, and BG has a great network. You know, we all kind of spread out across the country. You know, there's probably more in the Northeast, but we all spread out. So, you know, when I was out in Silicon Valley and working with Cisco Systems, and there were a couple of BG alum there just getting together, and what I found is no matter who you talk to, everybody will give you time. You know, and by the way, even when they're 5 years, 10 years past you, so it's not just the people that are in the room. You know, and you'll find this when you go to college too. When you reach out to another BG alum and you say, hey, do you have some time? I'd like to chat about something. Your network isn't 21 through 24 graduates. Your network is, you know, Tony in 77, me in 87, Linda in 78. I wasn't going to pick a number. Okay? Yeah. I pick a number for a guy, would not pick a number for a lady. Another tip there. But just no matter who you reach out to, like, people are always there. They always are, no matter what. And that, I don't think a lot of high schools can say that. I think you could reach out to somebody from the class of '92 that's doing some job that you want to do someday, and I'll put a bet on with you that they would give you time. I think that's pretty special. But that's the kindness, that's the known, valued, and treasured that I think BG has built into the fabric of the school, you know, through the good faculty, the good administration, and also your parents. Your parents deserve a lot of credit for raising you as good kids with good values and sending you here. All right. Thank you.
You know, we talked about the connection too. It never goes away. You know, I'm a graduate of '77. My best friends are still my BG guys. They're my best friends. So everybody's making a connection right now. The gentleman you have and the woman behind, there's another connection. 72. PDP, when you graduate, I have no idea. What is it? 2007. Very, very successful people. It's all connections. So I want to thank you for coming today. We're going to do a formal presentation about the gift of the fields up in the library. You're invited for that. If not, if you have a team they have to get to or a game, good luck today, and hopefully I'll see you guys later.
And I just, wait 1 second, I just want to say one more thing. It's very rare that someone does something that impacts you in a huge way that you get to see them and say thank you. And what you need to understand is the Keegan family have donated the largest gift in the history of Bishop Vernon High School so that you will have the fields you deserve to play on. In the plans that you've seen, the Keegan Athletic Complex, you'll see 3 turf fields, a full track, six tennis courts. All these things, if you're not a senior, you will benefit from it in your career here. And so I would like you to join me in thanking them for the largest gift we have ever received, and their very generous $1.5 million gift to fund your fields so that you have a better BG experience. So join me in a round of applause.